when they started talking to me, be like, hey, the team is like in shambles. We're having issues with morale. People are fighting with each other. It is like chaos, basically.
What a massacre this game is.
The Cloud9 of old is gone for good.
I'm definitely not a better jungler than the Meteos. He's like by far better than me. But I think the team morale improved a little bit by having a decisive voice back in the team.
All right, guys. We are 7 weeks into the season, getting smack-daddied, and this is where we turn it around. We shall bounce back from the grid.
Many people are quick to blame a certain player and look to like fix that player. There's too much like hype for raw talent, and that doesn't matter at all. It just matters how well as a team you play. When you lose as a team, and that's the same thing when you're winning.
Cloud9 now on to the Nexus with Fury this game.
We can climb back up from where we are, because the previous don't matter anymore. It happened, and now we just gotta look ahead.
Welcome to Week 8, Day 2 of the North American LCS Summer Split. We're coming to you live from our studio home in Los Angeles, California. Lots of energy in the building today. NME Esports, just a short time ago, getting in some practice before they take to the stage in our first game of the day. And as we come into the final stretch, the energy of the fans is matching the importance of the game. And of course, Debonair Ezreal joining us in the audience. Quas dominate the rest of the Team Liquid crew arriving. They'll be up against NME in that first game of the day. Phoenix there has really come into his own this split, going to be a big factor with a packed top end of the standings. Liquid is fighting for that first round bye, making today a must-win game if they want to stay in contention. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson. Great to have you with us for another full day of league action. Here to drop some sick knowledge bombs are Aiden Zyrene Moon, Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, and David Freak Turley. Go.
Square root of 3 is 1.7302. What? 1.3205. I got it wrong.
Go! You can't!
You can't get past 3 significant figures?
The sick knowledge bomb.
1.732057.
Oh, it missed. That missed so hard.
Some sick reading bomb.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, my goodness. Well,
man.
Let's start our day with a look at the standings and what is still up for grabs. 5 teams have secured a playoff berth, starting with Gravity in first. Then in second, it's CLG, Team Impulse, and Liquid. And our 5th is Team Dignitas. Now sharing 5th place with Dig are TSM, who just need one more win to take the last spot from Team 8, who are sitting in 7th. Cloud9 is just 1 game back in 8th place. NME Esports is in 9th, and Team Dragon Knights are now locked into the 10th spot and will face auto relegation. Now turning to today's schedule, we've got Team Liquid squaring off against NME Esports. Then Cloud9 will take on CLG, and we'll conclude the day with Team 8 challenging first place Gravity. It's a packed field at the top of the standings with 4 teams vying for first and second place and those oh-so-sweet playoff buys. So gentlemen, who are we keeping our eyes on here?
I'm keeping my eye on TIP, because not only are they front runners with a 6-win streak at the moment, they also just replaced their support. Adrian is out today, and regardless of the win streak and the reasons for it, we can't ignore the fact that he was #1 in assists, #1 in kill participation, and #1 in wards placed per minute, and that definitely helped this team. And coming in is Gate, a guy who is not just new to the team, but he's also new to support as a competitive role. So keeping my eye on TIP, seeing if they can pick up that 7th win. It is against TDK, so if you are going to have somebody sub in, this is the game to do it. But regardless of that, it's still not the ideal situation for TIP as they were surging.
Yeah, I mean, they did say that also that they want him back as soon as he returns from visiting his family. So it's not the end of the world, but yeah, as you said, versus TDK, it might be the time to sub him out. The next team is probably going to be CLG because they're on their 3-game win streak after they had their little collapse. It was a good time for them to have it in the middle of the season. They have plenty of time to prep for playoffs. They got their win against Team Liquid. That's a big weight off of their shoulders. They had lost 9 in a row to the team. Maybe next they could break their streak versus TSM because that's going to be a team that they have to play in playoffs
They're both on the
as
same
well.
block.
Exactly.
Great.
The other thing is that CLG is the best team in North America right now at 10 minutes. Their gold lead over their opponents is the highest in the league on average. So we saw that in effect yesterday as well as they kept down Quas basically made him a non-relevant factor in the entire game. So COG looking much better going into playoffs.
Yeah, and as much as you guys are talking about teams improving, I want to talk about a team that's very much in decline. It's a bit of a dead horse, and I guess if I can't even recite numbers properly, maybe you don't want to listen to me, but Team Philamid are doing honestly really terribly. And as much as people like to point fingers, I think you need roughly 2 hands to point as many fingers as you actually need for this team, because it's not just, well, you know, Wild Turtle flashed into the team and Valkyrie into a guy with exhaust. It's like, yeah, okay, he made mistakes, but like, all right, there's one.
I'm counting
yeah,
for you.
all right,
I'm
cool.
counting for you.
Oh, okay, you're counting for me. I got you. Yeah, and you can point to the team comps being bad, and so Reggie's going to take over as head coach. He's going to fix, you know, Loco Doga's mistakes. But like, Darius is blowing ultimates. Bjerg's getting chunked out before you're supposed to go for a tower dive, and now he can't show up as TF. Santorin missed a Vi ultimate. Like, all right, there you go. 2 hands. We made it. We made it. 2 hands.
Lucky for us, humans have 2 hands.
Yes. So I mean, honestly, it's a individual playmaking problem for almost every player on the roster. Not just getting like mechanically outplayed, but just like making bad choices. And this is everyone making mistakes. And when you get better and better and better opponents, like in the NALCS, that's not acceptable anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they're on their what's soon to be or could be their biggest losing streak ever in the history of the team. If you try and remember, I don't think I can remember a time where they've lost 5 in a row. There may be some really
At least
long time ago,
within the last 2 years of the LCS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the North
Or the
American
highest in
LCS, they've
2013.
never lost 5. So
Yeah, so-
maybe in the deep, dark recesses of some IEM.
Yeah, this would be making franchise history if they were to lose today. Now we're going to dust off the hashtag LCS big plays after that huge Shifter pentakill yesterday. At Xantakill Wrath writes, by the gods, Shifter dropping the hammer with that 15-minute Ahri pentakill. Let's take a look.
And we're going to see the chase continue as Hanser does manage to knock down Kiwika, but Gamsu with a massive Gnar ultimate right across the bow is the Ahri Q. And this could be the exact fight Dignitas wanted. A quadra kill for Shifter. Red buff is on. Charms up. Good flash by Altec with the flash Q. The pentakill for Shifter.
A 14-minute pentakill.
Yeah, I think the best thing about that clip is I'm going to be on PTO this week. I'm in the Penta. Yes.
I've always wanted to be. No.
I've always wanted to be on PTO.
Well, the best part of the clip, if Shifter's the one dropping the hammer, Gamsu gave it to him on a silver platter. Here, have
He lined up all the nails and held him up. So go ahead, this one.
Yeah, some credit has to be afforded to him for that huge 4-man Gnar ult. Well, keep calling out your favorite moments from today's matches by tweeting at @LollySports with the hashtag LCS Big Plays. Or for our Primetime League brethren, as Freak mentioned, you can use the hashtag ThePenta. Next, we want to jumpstart the conversation on Twitter, though. We're asking you, what is your favorite play from the NALCS Summer Split and why? Send your answers to us at LollySports and use the hashtag LCS. That's enough from us, though, here on the desk. Let's send it over to our casters to get us into the games.
Square root of 3.
Thanks, Dash. Hello, everyone. I'm Rivington Bisson III, along with the benevolent overlord, Joshua Jat Leesman, and we will not be doing any math here on the desk. It is a scary thing when you're live on air. Team Liquid are loaded up on the stage and about to face off against NME Esports for our first game of the day. Yesterday, Team Liquid's reign of terror over Counterlogic Gaming was brought to an end. If you were watching, and today they'll have to pick up the pieces after quite a disappointing loss.
Yeah, they got to be very disappointed because Team Liquid made some uncharacteristic mistakes. They mismanaged the lane swap, and Quas fell pretty far behind early. That game actually had Quas's largest CS deficit at the 10-minute mark of this split. And aside from that, you know, Liquid are still in the running for a first-round bye, so they need a win here to not fall back or behind the rest of the pack that's going for those buys.
It's going to be tough. Things are getting tight here at the end of the split. And meanwhile, NME Esports are shut out of the playoffs and are fighting to avoid a trip to the spring promotion tournament.
Yeah, and honestly, for NME Esports, we've seen the continuous problems with their team just plague them throughout. They have only had a gold lead 3 times in their 15 games at the 10-minute mark, and the largest lead they ever held at 10 minutes was 182, which hardly counts as lead. To their credit, even though they have by far the worst early game for the gold at 10 minutes of any team in the LCS since 2014, by the way, so that's 4 consecutive splits, they still won 4 games. So if they are even close, they know how to play.
Well, a lot of teams are facing a problem right now, and that's coming out of the laning phase with a deficit. And Piglet says there's no excuse for falling behind.
자기 개개인의 실력이 우선 제일 좋아야 된다고 생각을 해요. 왜냐하면 아무리 좋은 팀이라도 라인전에서 밀려버리면은 질 수도 있는 거라서 무조건 이제 뭐 라인전을 가장 안 줘야 된다고 생각을 해요. 뭐 2대2든 2대1 상황에서도 이제 상대방 탑한테 안 밀리거나 이제 상대방 원딜한테 안 밀릴 만큼 그 정도 실력이 필요하다고 생각해요.
I feel like in a sense there he's saying going almost even as well is not good enough for the lane.
Yeah, well, he definitely wants to win, but more importantly, you can't let yourself get crushed in lane because that's what's going to cost you the game.
Well, it's something that plagued them. We'll talk about it once we get into it. Right now, we're going to check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it is Team Liquid. It's going to be Quas in that top lane, dominate the jungle, Phoenix in mid, Piglet at AD carry, and X Special at support with Coach Peter.
Yes, and on the red side, in red, it is NME Esports. We got Flares in the top lane, Trashy in the jungle, Inox in mid lane, Otter on AD carry, and Body Drop on support with Fragnetic. Maybe calling the picks and bans.
Maybe calling the picks and bans. Talking a little about winning that lane situation. We saw Quas having quite a hard time yesterday in lane situations, so it kind of falls into place that Piglet would be saying that today. We'll see if Team Liquid has kind of shored up what happened in the lane swaps yesterday to cause that.
Top laners are in this weird situation all the time where they're so team dependent in those lane swaps, and it was just mismanaged by Team Liquid against a team, by the way, CLG, who is by far the best at managing those lane swaps. As far as having a top laner with a large lead at 10 minutes, that happens more on CLG. 7 of their 15 games, Zion has a large lead of 14 CS or more over his opponent. So it happened to Team Liquid. Maybe it was because they misplayed, maybe it was because CLG was really good at that.
We always heard Zion before when I interviewed him, he said getting those CS in a 2v1 is a privilege. So you get everything that you can. He focuses on not dying and making sure that privilege is something he can get. Now into picks and bans here. Our first game of the day, Team Liquid versus NME. Already the second day here of Week 8. Crazy stuff. The teams only have 3 games left to play, and they need to make these ones count. Nidalee, Shen already banned, along with the Azir and Annie. Some good focus.
Yeah.
And the global bans there.
Phoenix likes to play Azir. Who would have thunk?
You could say that.
This time it's banned away by NME. I think that is a nearly required ban, just based off of the success that Phoenix had been showing on Azir in some very dominating games during Team Liquid's winning streak.
It just controls the fight for him so much more. It seems like they would have everything they needed to look for an engage and then take it completely. You'd see an Emperor's Divide change the entire fight almost 75% of the way through, and you thought Team Liquid was behind. Taking that out has caused a few of their, or one of their losses, I should say, already. But TF and Yasuo were also in that string of wins here for Team Liquid, something that have both been left up.
Yeah, there's a lot of things still left on the table, somewhat targeted for the bans in this one. But the Kalista first pick is interesting. They decide against going for early jungle first picks because a Gragas and a Rek'Sai can be traded. And that's also not even exactly what we're seeing traded nowadays. We can still see an Evelynn maybe from Trashy at some point this game. I feel like the Kalista is just a very safe, reliable first pick that Piglet has performed pretty solidly on in the past.
And who's going to jump into the high champion pool of junglers yet? No one so far, just him. But it is the Gragas coming in for Trashy. Nautilus picked up as well. Maybe a bit of lockdown there. They can get onto the Kalista. So good first few tanky picks.
I mean, it used to be true that Kalista was very, or at least somewhat dangerous to first pick because it allows the other team to pick just point and click hard CC. We'd see a lot of Vi jungle back when she was more in the meta. Top lane Nautilus is exactly the same thing in that sense of a powerful point and click CC that can stop Kalista from hopping around. But obviously with Team Liquid being willing to first pick that, they're going to be putting threats elsewhere to make focus on Piglet not a necessity. And especially with Maokai now, Phoenix needs to pick a very big damage champion later on in the game.
Good for Quas as well. He went back to the Heck Room the other day, or yesterday I should say. I think it affected a bit of that being able to CS in lane. He'll have a better time with Maokai in that situation. So Team Liquid looking good out of picks and bans, but NME seem to be getting those first 2 picks along the lines of what they want here. It's number 3 and 4. Yesterday was a Yi that they tried to throw in. Different things that they're bringing out at the end of the season. Why not? Sometimes you got to go for broke to make things happen. And the Sivir actually gets all the way through this time without being hit in the ban phase. Picked up with the Fizz.
Sivir and Kalista have been trading picks or bans frequently, so sometimes people will just ban 2 of them if they aren't willing to first pick one. This time we actually see a first pick with Sivir still being up, which is a little bit abnormal, but it just means that NME could wait until later in their draft phase to pick the Sivir. The thing that throws me for a little bit of a loop here is the Fizz now. It basically pushes Nautilus to support if Fizz is going top lane, and means Inox is most likely trying to counterpick his mid lane, although there's an outside chance you could bring that Fizz mid.
wouldn't put it past Inox. Yesterday, other things from that mid lane from him as well that he has been comfortable in trying. As we see the final 2 picks. The TF does get drawn in by Phoenix in the mid lane, and the Janna is picked up actually as well by Xpecial here on the bot side.
Yeah, Janna is good with Callista in the lane. Xpecial's Janna yesterday did not have much of an impact. It didn't really synergize with their team composition. This time, it's mainly feels like it's just for protecting Piglet, more so than anything else. If someone tries to point and click on him, he'll shield him and try and knock those people away. Because otherwise, Twisted Fate and Maokai Rek'Sai, that's all about flanking and diving on a backline. So, interesting support pick, at least for Xpecial, if they're not going all in. It's a mix of both things. Pretty heavy CC composition overall, I think.
Interesting way to do it. Team Liquid has been known to kind of get in trouble in those late game fights. We'll see if the positioning of this one can go against them, and it might just. They're going to have to really worry about positioning now. A lot of ways to activate that last breath from Yasuo coming out as Inox takes that last pick.
Yeah, it is his first Yasuo game of the split. Inox has been fairly miss with his counter picks in the mid lane.
Yeah.
This one, Yasuo against Twisted Fate, he can win wall pretty much all of Twisted Fate's damage if he gets it up early. However, I'm very curious how to see how he plays this lane. He has fallen behind pretty heftily in the laning phase in a lot of matchups, and Phoenix has been ahead of people very frequently in a lot of matchups. So, dangerous last pick there for Inox, going all in.
And you know, it seemed like it was a different story in the beginning for them. The Kassadin counter pick was what they had first week against Gravity purple side, and they beat Gravity. Then everything fell apart. That was even with their sub squad. So tough things coming in for NME and trying to keep themselves in here to get a chance to get back into the split. It's going to be a big game. Coaches shake hands. They're off, and the picks and bans now finished up for game 1. We are about to hit the rift, so make sure you head over to Twitter and tell us how this one's going to play out, who's going to win. Either way, how do you feel? At LOL Esports, TL win, hashtag TL win, or hashtag NME win. We'll get those tallied up as we head into the game. Bit of a global comp here. Level 6, going to keep an eye on that for Liquid. Going to keep an eye on this fight comp from NME, locking in the Yasuo last. TL versus NME, and we are on the Rift.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, the semi-global team composition from Team Liquid. It's no Twisted Fate Shen, but it is a teleport top laner with the Rek'Sai in the jungle, so they definitely have the ability to support from multiple angles. Laning phase-wise, we really have to track whether we see a lane swap or whether we see a one-on-one lane, because if Fizz gets ahead of the Maokai, it can destroy him. Flares has gone with the Smite teleport Fizz, very much going for the kill pressure. It's a pick Zion Spartan has been excelling with in CLG's 3-game winning streak, and it's the type of pick that Flares should be able to succeed on. Flares is one player whose solo queue prowess has completely failed the transfer over to the LCS, but it is more of a carry type top laner that he succeeded with when he was rank 1 on the solo queue ladder. It was mainly Hecarim Riven that he was doing that with, but this Fizz can fulfill a similar play style for him, you would hope, if he can maybe take control of this game.
We remember back to the first few weeks, there was the tweet that they sent out where I think it was Flares or somebody said, you know, Flares is going to just completely take Dyrus in lane, and that was a Hecarim game.
Right.
And while he did good against Dyrus in game, as the game panned out, TSM still won that game, and Flares actually didn't have a resulting impact after it. So, like you said, that laning phase shining through a bit, but definitely not enough in a transition to the LCS stage for him. Unfortunate as well. A lot of good things heard about him in the beginning of the season.
And you can see in their week 2 matchup, I mean, it wasn't even close. It was another one of those games where NME...
Those are mostly Flares' kills.
Yeah, where NME gets steamrolled early, right? And lately, that's actually been happening to Flares, more so than anything else. He actually had a somewhat unfortunately memorable game against Zion Spartan's Fizz as Nautilus, where he was just under Zion's turret, took aggro, and just died immediately to the Fizz. He's been making these misplays that need to be rectified for NME if they want to climb to that 7th spot in the standings.
Well, we are going to get the swap out onto this. See how it plays out for everybody. Not going to lanes just yet. Just getting the fast farm on the Gromp on both sides, and everybody 2 lanes now to start farming it off. Double jungle here, so we get mid lane free of that pressure. We'll see if they try to solo each other out. Exhaust there from both sides, both Phoenix and on Inox.
Interesting, too, that both jungler top lane combos decided to start on the weak side. I differentiate strong side, weak side, and lane swaps of whatever side your AD carry and support are on is the strong side. The side they are not on is called the weak side. So both somewhat risky starts on the weak side because they were prone to invades, but the invades did end up coming late, so X Special goes in, recognizes they started on weak side, therefore they will be going to the other side next. It's a very predictable early game now at this point since the scouting has been done, and both teams should know exactly where the jungle top laner combo is, and that the mid lane gank or turret push is the possibility with the next move from these guys.
Definitely works out for TF in lane for sure. Things staying safe, he's happy as long as he can have his jungler and safe wards around him. Inox gonna go a little hard, gets hit by the outside wild card. So back and forth, looks like they're trading even here. The turret's finally met by both teams. Actually about the same time here. Determined how much damage is gonna go down. Looks like it should be the same. Trashy. Ooh, nice. I like that he held his flash there. Making sure Phoenix blew his. Got a 5-minute timer on that, and they should be back in the mid lane.
Basically, the threat of Trashy flashing to extend his body slam and get the stun is one of the things that forced Phoenix for an early flash, and that means if there's a return gank, it's almost guaranteed that he can land the stun. That's potentially going to make Dominate cheat towards Phoenix, or as we see now, Phoenix going back for a very early ward.
Yeah, very early backs, gets the ring as well to make sure he can survive. Hopefully a gank that comes in. It's definitely going to be painful from Gragas and Yasuo. Bottom turret is dropped. They traded just about the same amount of time. What's the move here now is really going to not make or break what happens next, but who gets that bit of a lead.
It's been nearly exactly mirrored so far. Trashy spent a little bit of time ganking mid lane, so therefore I Will Dominate is a bit ahead on the jungle CS. But as soon as Trashy clears this camp, you're going to see it's going to be identical, but he is going to counter jungle a little bit. I would have preferred he sticks around a little bit longer, but he was a little bit low on health and probably feared I Will Dominate, had done an early recall. Didn't want to get collapsed upon.
Also have Inox back. Not much help from him there, so he's playing it super safe. Wards coming out from Xpecial as well. They hover themselves all towards the bottom side of that jungle to think Trashy is in there. They a little bit late on that. He makes his way out. And now we'll see how the lanes match up. Piglet gets flares in the bot lane as Xpecial meets up with him. We'll see how this top lane here goes for Quas.
Yeah, not well. It looks like he's up there alone, and they immediately freeze the lane on him. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, it's not going to be frozen. So Flares will have an opportunity to pick up farm under his turret as long as he can avoid getting dove, whereas Quas is again going to be starved with that jungle CS. This is very similar.
Look, they've already swapped.
Yeah, it's very similar to what happened in the COG game. Quas will now need to either manufacture his farm or he'll need help shoving up against Otter in the top lane. I feel like he might try and assist a gank here, but that's why NME is trying to rotate around with their jungler and support.
Great calls right now, kind of playing around Team Liquid. They may lose the pressure on this turret as the TP comes in.
Full dive.
Enemy's still going to want this. A hook onto Xpecial. They get Howling Gales. They have the protection of their turret, but is it going to be enough? Xpecial took that first aggro, I believe, for a shot, then Dominate, and they are just nicely in and out on that. Will they attempt again? Quas, the Arcane Smash to take the first aggression. Turret's on him pretty hard.
Clean.
Quas is going to go down on this one, though. He stayed in for a little too long. Couldn't get the Twisted Advance down to break the aggro. And it's going to be a 1-for-1 there with one spawning already. Here comes Body Drop back from the dead.
Yeah, I didn't quite see how he got aggro, but Phoenix is level 6.
Ooh, very close. The flash out from Trashy. Good thing he held that earlier on the gank to Phoenix. And the TP coming in. They actually think Trashy's going to provide enough help here. And they may be right. Phoenix is low on mana. Can't provide too much. And it looks like they're still going to brute force the turret down. Quite a bit of chaos there as Team Liquid's able to dance around it.
Yeah, Team Liquid with the proper play when one man is freezing and the others are able to basically
they got him out of there
crush the
immediately.
turret down. So Quas did fall, but they end up getting a kill and a turret for it. Meanwhile, they're not really losing too much out as far as top lane farm difference because they didn't allow Flares to farm, as Quas was also denied in farm, but they're also able to take an edge out of it. Almost a perfect turret dive if Quas could have dropped the aggro on his Twisted Advance, because 4v3 turret diving is not an easy task.
Yeah, we'll see it again.
Yeah, figure out exactly what happened here. So Trashy and Body Drop go in. Interesting that they decide to focus Body Drop because his Nautilus shield had just ended before they decide to go in here. So they swap the turret back. It's all about who picks up the turret aggro next. Yeah, it goes on to Quas. It's interesting because he Twisted Advance, but it doesn't
No.
I would need to see that in
shot.
slow motion to figure out exactly what
Stuck him.
happened. But he didn't quite time it.
It twisted, but he was the first one to attack again. And it just continued.
Just continued to stay on him.
That was right between the shots. So, Liquid able to grab the Dragon for themselves after a bit of a dance in the bot lane. That will be nice for them. They have the timer, and I don't think there was any vision of the members on the map, so it's a guess from NME when that went down.
Yeah, and I do have to point out just the teleport that came in right at the end of that entire engagement from Flares when he went back to the turret again was really unfortunate because they could have used that to maybe try and pressure off the Dragon or just have the versatility if Flares wants to freeze this top wave. But they've kind of lost all that pressure with him doing that. The one thing that NME would have going for them here is with Phoenix coming down on his Twisted Fate, and with the early gank, the trash he pulled off in the mid lane, Inox does have a CS advantage over Phoenix in the mid lane.
Yep. We were waiting for level 6 to be big. Unfortunately, Phoenix couldn't pick up anything off of the TP when he got it. Gave Inox some free time in that mid lane. We'll see if he can continuously use this. Just the body slam from Trashy is going to be able to activate that last breath if they want to go in. So we'll see how much he comes to the mid lane. Not too many wards for Phoenix covering that top side. Well, I guess he actually does have one. I saw it as Inox was running over it with his coin. So things slow down as the turrets drop on the outer sides of the map until we get some deep wards here. I think it's going to be patience from both teams.
Yeah, NME puts their duo lane back into the lane where they've already killed the turrets, so they're not going to be able to shove through. And this will also theoretically give Quas an opportunity to farm 1v1. It's rather dangerous, actually, against a Twisted Fate Rek'Sai team to be up this far in a duo lane. But they have the confidence with their Gragas there that they can win a skirmish.
Well, Team Liquid definitely did the right thing if they thought somebody was going to swap them into a bad spot. Putting Quas on Maokai instead of Hecarim is going to help, even if he is down in CS. So hopefully he can still provide some help. He's down 24 right now, so levels could be an issue as well if these fights come in the next few minutes. Yeah. Special to clear out some wards. Team Liquid does not want any lead of enemy snowballing into their jungle. Make sure everything's safe and sound.
Yeah, and as we hit the 10-minute mark, we can kind of check in on the stat we mentioned in the pregame. This is now a 1,500 gold deficit for NME, which is more than their average deficit of 1,113 at the 10-minute mark this split. And it is historic how far behind these guys fall on average. Going back to the spring split of 2014, even there, that was the earliest we keep data for gold at 10 in the NLCS. It's the largest average deficit any team's had. So their early game continues to struggle. What's interesting is they've managed to pick up 4 wins throughout all of this. Because even when they're behind, they do have good teamwork and they are able to find picks. So that will really be the name of the game here against Team Liquid, is just trying to capitalize on odd-numbered fights, which is one thing that makes it more difficult now against a Twisted Fate and a Rek'Sai. 2 champions with global presence, it makes it much more difficult to create those opportunities.
You have to pick and choose your fights very carefully and how this goes down. If Phoenix gets going, he's going to be able to do any kind of ports that he wants to start the fights with the team. Still nothing yet from NME to get Inox going, however. Definitely has been a carry in the past on those champions in the mid lane. Like we said, Cassidy versus Gravity coming out of week 1. Inox was the one to be able to carry that. So. That's true. They, like you said, the teamwork is there. Yeah, big Yasuo plays. The teamwork is there, and it's something they have to look for coming up on that next Dragon. It would be great to get Team Liquid grouped up in that situation. Special's Janna pick also can deny a bit of that, so the fights are going to be difficult. And right now, Liquid kind of putting everything the way they want it and dictating the fights when they want it. Nice job by that switch. As you said, Quas was going to be able to 1v1 farm, and he's brought that 24 CS back immediately now to tie up that lane.
Spectre's Cal. It's very hard to itemize against Trinity Force Fizz because he does a healthy mix of physical and magic damage. So oftentimes you want the health, but then he also does % health damage. So difficult task for Maokai to stay alive. That's what Quas is tasked with against Flares here.
Pressure to the bot lane, trying to spread enemy thin here. Otter actually has control of the mid, but Quas is on the rotation down. Flares' TP is up, and there's no wards right now on Quas. I don't think he's actually going to go for anything here. Looks like he's back and forth. They can't get the team up the bottom side of the river, and it looks like they don't fully want this. A lot of very careful play in this game. Team's not taking any chances. Wasn't even aggression shown by Phoenix as Quas entered the mid lane there to try to make any plays. No early gold cards. Everything is only if we can do it, we'll do it right now.
Looks like Phoenix is trying to rush the Zhonya's against this Yasuo. He actually does have the gold lead thanks to Twisted Fate's passive, giving him a little bit of extra gold. Despite his CS deficit, the one turret will obviously help out with that as well. So yeah, I feel like Phoenix is just trying to farm up for his major items, knowing that Inox is in that static shiv phase where Yasuo gets pretty scary.
Yeah. Good thing to stay away from that.
But he's catching up in CS too, because he's actually he took Wolves and then he took Raptors as well. So I will dominate CS, being sacrificed to Phoenix's mid lane.
A little bit. Dominate got a nice mid wave there. Phoenix is saying, I saw that. You missed the cannon as well, so I'm taking your Raptors. Just getting back. Can't miss those cannons. Sight stones for both junglers. Expect those wards to be everywhere. And here's that next dragon. Here's that possibility for the Yasuo to catch a nice last breath on that engage. We'll see how Team Liquid keeps themselves positioned here, because that's going to be a big factor here in the fight.
Yeah, Inox not quite level 11. He would be the first one to make it in the game, but that would make a pretty big difference in this fight.
Right.
Flares does have his teleport up as well, so enemy can actually use this somewhat to their advantage if they try and posture between the dragon and just stall this one out. Team Liquid trying to accelerate this choice by shoving up the mid wave. The longer that enemy can hold this position without losing the mid lane turret, the better for Flares, because he's picking up a fair bit of farm in the meanwhile.
Yep.
Trashy.
They're gonna, missed it. Good positioning. That's what we were looking for by Team Liquid. Nice try by Trashy as well. The team obviously has that in mind, so not as much a missed cast as more as a dodge.
Yeah, but
back to Dragon.
Really big miss, because he burned the Sivir ult as well. So
you're right on that.
Yeah, this means Team Liquid is kind of free to go in. This will also mean if enemy doesn't want to go for second dragon, they go.
There's the last, bounced out. Last breath doesn't actually do too much damage. Enemy is taking quite a bit in the middle though. Dominate and Quas able to just be tanks on the front line. Phoenix in a good spot. Red card's out, but it's still going to be enough to keep himself alive. And Liquid actually come up with the bunched up fight and the death ball.
Team Liquid knows exactly what to do right now. They notice that some critical ultimates are down from NME. They're expecting the Yasuo synergy. The instant that he goes up for the last breath, X Special just starts his Monsoon to knock him away from follow-up and also heal up any damage that would have been done. Just a perfectly played fight right there by Team Liquid, baiting out spells beforehand, forcing the dragon while the enemy is weak, and then also taking down the weak enemy when they engage.
What a play. Initially missed. I was just watching Trashy and I initially missed his Sivir ult from the backside.
So Inox in immediately exhaust and also a Janna ult right off the back of that. So nicely done there. They have their second exhaust for when the Shark goes on Phoenix to stop the damage from that as well. That was just a really clean fight from Team Liquid. Disorganized from NME, but very clean from Team Liquid.
So at that point, it's Dragon 2. You look at the fight, you waste those. Do you walk away and patch up the lanes, or do you still try to fight that? Because you know you're two huge ults down.
Honestly,
kind of in the moment.
Yeah, in the moment, they feel like Team Liquid is grouped and they saw an opportunity to pick Phoenix. But strategically, after burning the ultimates, enemy had to shove lanes. The second dragon, 16 minutes into the game, is actually not that critical. The bonuses you're mainly looking for are from the first dragon, and Team Liquid already had those. So they would have actually been able to close the gold gap a little bit by killing lanes instead of trying to fight that dragon. But this just ended up putting them further behind, because not only did they fail to disrupt the dragon, they also gave up kill gold from the team fight.
Well, more and more leading to those deficit reasons for why they are behind in the game. The choice is just not working out for them, unfortunately. But a good attempt at the first ult. They have the right ideas. Just have to be able to adapt while making those ideas as well. 17 minutes in, 4-1 right now. It's 3,000 gold tick up a lead now for Team Liquid. 2-1 in turrets. They actually look like they have enough power to pretty much walk up to these turrets. Taking them down, however, is tough with the Otter on Sivir and Inox being there ready to engage with the rest of the team. So, like you said, flanking around, getting themselves behind. Going to be big for both teams, actually, to start these fights.
Phoenix with Zhonya's completed. gives them nice freedom to dive.
Good rush there.
Seeding turrets against enemy will be difficult, though. Windwall as well as Sivir.
Oh, yeah, Windwall. I forgot about that.
Enemy looking for another fight. Don't think they want this one.
Taking a good bit of damage. Wow. Nobody's even trying to get back to the back line, I should say. Dominate and Quas are the ones getting fought across the wall. Everybody can see the fight. Otter gets hit up with a gold card. Wild cards to follow. I don't know if any kills will follow out of this one. Just a lot of very, very low health members. Inox getting out by the skin of his teeth there, almost hit by a wild card. And just a minute ago, it was TL at Dragon. Now TL's all over mid lane.
Yeah, they get at least one turret off this. They know they forced everyone back to base, so they're probably going to get 2 turrets off this team fight. Even if they don't close any kills, they definitely get them low enough. Again, that was a Nautilus ult by body drop very early on in the fight, and Team Liquid, they're willing to throw down and brawl right now because they know they have the lead, and because the fights keep happening, Team Liquid's lead will only extend.
And you think it would be going a little bit differently for enemy right now. Triforce spike, like you said, that bit of static shiv damages. Inox hits 11 and starts to build his items. Otter just finished the Infinity Edge after that fight, but still, hopefully using those spikes at the right time, and it just seems they cannot get the opening. The CS for Flares, he's been hanging out in that top lane and haven't seen him too much in the fights, has been going up.
It's true. Quas has been very teamfight focused this game. I would say with the way Team Liquid is playing, it doesn't feel like there's many ill effects from their loss to COD yesterday, seeming to bounce back quite well from that game. They're executing across all the areas in which they need to, and this could end up being one of the Dragon win conditions because of how early they started taking those objectives.
Yeah, that'll definitely pan out into something.
Pretty nice rotation by enemy here, though, beating them to the spot. They don't have a teleport to match as of yet. But Team Liquid seems to be all right slow playing this one since enemy's been so willing to give them opportunities.
A little bit of that semi-global pressure as well. You hear the farm alarm go off from Rek'Sai, her coming up. They don't know where she was, but she was over by blue enough to really pressure the turret as well with the other 2 members of Team Liquid there. Nicely done to keep the outer ring quite safe. Enemy, they have a lot of gold sitting on the map. If they could drop a few turrets right now, it'd be a good surge for them, but I don't think they're going to be reaching that at any point. Dominate puts himself in a 4v1, hoping for enough time for the team to join him. Quas now puts himself right in the middle of the fire in the cooking pan. Dominate jumps in. Phoenix on the backside. I don't think he is actually going to go down. The Zanyas is there. Dominate now to peel for him. Pops up flares. The team is working perfectly, communicating on every priority target that they need to hit. And now back onto Otter. They get a bit of speed there. I believe a Talisman of Ascension coming in from Xpecial to finalize that last kill. The triple going over nicely to Piglet, and that was just a beautiful fight from Team Liquid.
Very similar to the first time Team Liquid played enemy this split. This is a one-sided massacre, it really feels like. I really love the timing on Team Liquid's exhausts in these fights. They have double exhaust and a Zhonya's rush onto Phoenix. It is completely neutralizing the double assassin threat of Fizz Yasuo right now. And it's obviously they have the gold lead and the items to have this luxury, but the team fighting is super on point by Team Liquid right now.
Great communication. Baron at 20 minutes. We'll see that again.
Yeah, so I Will Dominate knows they have a lead. He decides to go right in. It looks like Phoenix is going to be the target of much pain. They go Nautilus ult for him. The Yasuo was not in range. Really, most of this fight is everyone trying to kill Phoenix, and the exhaust was down from there. The damage from Last Breath does apply, but the zone is right after, stops the follow-up, and then he can flash away. But meanwhile, Phoenix got his damage off in between his cooldowns. That's the beauty of Twisted Fate. And meanwhile, Piglet was just wrecking house on the backside. So really, enemy was tunneling on the wrong person for the most part. They're going on the dude with Zhonya's and who has his own exhaust, whereas you're generally picking the Nautilus click-on plus Yasuo to stop a Callista, but they're trying to use it on the Twisted Fate. Neither of them are successful, and Team Liquid really crushing this at this point.
That's a good point, Jack. You take away Phoenix's Azir, he's still going to good on TF, but you're still focusing him just as hard as you would on his Azir when Piglet has been also a very big factor. Great play by the team coming out. 22 minutes. It's only incremental in 2 or 3 minutes. They're getting things now. We saw the 16-minute Dragon, an 18-minute mid push after a fight. Now just a 21-minute fight in the top lane that they win with Baron already. 9-1 here as they push onto the bottom tier turrets. They can start to play on the other side of the map now without that objective on the top side, keeping them there.
Piglet takes the lion's share of the damage, but he'll be all right.
That's great thing about a Bloodthirster. You get it stacked up, you can take a few turret shots, no worries.
no worries whatsoever. 5 turrets to 1.
Yep.
Extremely large gold lead at 22 minutes. They have a good path for the 33-minute Dragon, and I mean, this is what Team Liquid wants to be playing like. They are still shooting for that first-round playoff bye. They're in position to do so. You know, they're one of the few teams sitting at 10 wins. This is the game that they must have. Next week they play Teammate and then Impulse. So they could theoretically close this year with 3 more wins. Go into 13 wins and get that first-round playoff bye.
Oh, let's see how they can counter-engage this one. It's the ulti in, last breath onto Xpecial. That was quite a bit of damage right back onto him. Inox is now finding himself in a bad situation. Dominate going very, very deep, still tanking the turret. Gonna get help from Phoenix now. Dominate can stay alive in this. Gets the Storm Shield over from Xpecial as well. Piglet going a bit too hard in the base. It looks like he's gonna have to wait for the team to get out of this one.
So if yesterday it felt like Xpecial's John wasn't having an impact, today is the answer to those criticisms, because he has been on point in all of these team fights. Perfect peel for the heavy assassin diving that NME has been trying to put in. Also the fact that even if Xpecial gets focused, they have the Callista pick to save him.
Yeah.
So NME is in a little bit of a catch-22 with who they focus, because every choice is a wrong decision right now. You want to stop Xpecial so he can't peel you, but you can't go on Xpecial because Piglet will save him. And it's gone from bad to worse, 13 kills to 1.
No, Jet, you say that about Xpecial. He's been playing very well. You can also look down at his score sheet and see 100% kill participation on 1-0-2. All 13 kills he's been a part of, letting you know this team has really been working together around the map.
Oh! That's a fun one.
Gotta love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'd say worth.
I think it's of something, they changed it recently. I think it's within the last 1/10 of a second. If you land a spell, it won't interrupt the recall. So that Shark landed within 1/10 of a second of his recall completing. Therefore, it popped on the base.
Adds more pucker factor.
It's
ready.
So close.
That's just gonna make more people wait. Let's see how this fight goes.
I thought we were gonna
again.
replay the fish recall.
Instant Sivir ult, and then they hit Xpecial.
Yeah.
Did he? No, he didn't. Didn't look like he
I'm
was
actually
quick.
surprised. So Piglet wanted to use Fate's Call, but he was also CC'd, so he had to wait until that damage went on to Xpecial. But then he just ults basically to heal himself out. It's ridiculous that I Will Dominate lived through that, but it's because Otter had to respect the Twisted Fate ultimate for his own life.
As well to control. They'll see this fight before we talk about that last one again real quick. Flares get hit up. There's the Fate's Call. Fate's Call pops up everybody in the middle of the fight. And they just wipe out Enemy on a bushwhack.
Oh, man.
Oh. Xpecial was, yeah, that was great.
That's a 14,000 gold lead right there, because honestly, if they have a fight where they are able to lock them down like that, it would have been good if the gold was even, but the lead is just too massive for Team Liquid right now. Piglet, Hurricane Bloodthirster in the midst of them all. He's like, well, thank you for putting me in the middle of the team.
Yeah.
With my Zeke's Herald assisted lifesteal from my support.
I didn't even see that. They have a bit too much money now. A surplus in cash and items. Liquid, 25 minutes. Something happening here in week 8 with these games being under 30. Teams are ready to get to the Nexus, and Liquid will do so here just at 26 minutes. They're going to finalize a few more for the KDA as they go on to the Nexus. 17-1 here. You're running Liquid in Fantasy. You got a big smile on your face. Team Liquid take down NME.
Yep, 26 minutes and 10 seconds. I think that's the second fastest game we've seen in the split thus far. Team Liquid, though, mainly taking care of business. This is a game they were expected to win.
Look at that. They're like, yeah, we won.
Yeah, they had been on a winning streak. They had that slip up against COG yesterday in their eyes. NME has been struggling heavily, and this is the game we were expecting. Team Liquid, strong early game advantage, decisive shot calls. Piglet and Xpecial were excellent as well.
Yep. Definitely a different game we saw from them yesterday. Coming out of picks and bans, Hecarim, Rek'Sai, Victor, Corki, Janna. They threw back the Janna in there, the Rek'Sai as well. They switched a few more things up. The Corki was still working, but they decided for the Callista, and it paid off in the team fights. They knew they were going to be doing that against NME. They love to fight.
An extra little bit of mobility from Callista, keeping Piglet from being diveable. Just a bit of a slaughter this game. 17 kills to 1 with a 15,000 gold lead, and it started from the early game, 1,500 gold at 10 minutes. Of course, that extended by 1,000 gold a minute for the rest of the game. Not a good pace to be on.
You're very happy. Right now, we're going to send it down to Freak, who's on stage with Team Liquid's All-Star support.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm here with Xpecial here from Team Liquid. A very convincing win, first of all. Congratulations on that one. But first, I want to start with yesterday, because you guys are top 2. You're like headed to look really good in playoffs. What happened against CLG yesterday?
I believe that our strategy in our 2v1 was outdated, and CLG's new strategy, we just got outplayed in that aspect. I don't think that CLG is a better team than us. I think if we played a best out of 5 right now, we'd beat them. But yesterday, best out of 1, we lost. Sucks. But today we came out strong, and we showed that, you know, maybe we had a bad game yesterday, and hopefully we can make sure that our next 2 games can close out strong.
All right, so in a best out of 5, you'll beat CLG. Maybe we'll see that in the playoffs. And actually, speaking of which, you are in control of making sure you're top 2 coming into the postseason. That first round bye, what's it going to take to make sure those CLG mistakes don't happen again and you make that top 2 finish?
Well, today we also played out a 2v1, and we completely changed our 2v1 strategy. And that's something that we changed pretty much in just a few hours of strategy talk and as a team. I think that's something that we have a huge advantage in because of our huge support staff and our players just trusting each other and being able to adapt on the fly. And today we showed that we used a different 2v1, and it worked really well for us.
Well, that's good to hear. So final question then. You guys looking good for playoffs. Your adaptations are good. You're poised to get your 4th trip to Worlds. You're poised to bring the Team Liquid / Curse Legacy their first trip to Worlds. What's going to take to make this happen to bring this team over to the World Championship?
We need to do exactly what we're doing right now and play as a team, be a team, and we'll go as a team.
All right, sounds good. Team Liquid as a team going to make it to the World Championship here. Thank you very much, Xpecial. We're going to send it back to you guys in the caster desk.
Thank you very much, Freak. And I definitely think one thing that Xpecial said there really revolves around what we just saw is that the confidence in their play and that they're able to put aside that loss from CLG. Because if you can do that with any game, adapt in the fight, you're going to be good to go.
And then quickly changing their strategy. The instant that top lane got froze, they immediately went for the dive onto enemy in the bottom lane, made a big play out of it, started the snowball, and that was a really big snowball by the end of the game. Crazy pace to have that big of a goal lead only at 26 minutes.
No melting that snowball. So right now we're going to step away while Cloud9 and CLG make their final preparations for our next match. Don't go anywhere. The NALCS continues after this.
Do you know what your role is today?
What?
You have to just cosplay double lift, okay?
Alright.
Then we got this. I believe in you.
Quas, the arcade smash to take the first aggression. Turrets on him pretty hard. Clean. Quas is going to go down on this one, though. He stayed in for a little too long.
They're TPing, they're in.
As well.
Help TF, help TF. Yasuo.
On the fizz.
Okay, Fizz. Okay, good.
Nice.
Dragon.
Phoenix on the backside. I don't think he is actually going to go down. The Zanias is there. Dominate now to peel for him. Pops up flares. The team is working perfectly. Dominate going very, very deep. Still tanking the turret. Going to get help from Phoenix. Now Dominate can stay alive in this. Gets the Storm Shield. Team Liquid take down NME.